20%. Now the 80% should be the production. How much are you producing right now? Who are you letting know about the greatness that you're creating? Again, whether that's a course, whether you're a mastermind. Now secondly, choose the one thing. Most of the time I feel like we get so unmotivated because we set out to have these big audacious goals, which is so great, but then people think we're gonna accomplish them in one fell swoop. So then we get disappointed, oh my gosh, I didn't meet my success marker by the end of the year. When really all along we were underestimating what we could do in just 30 days. When really, we missed the fact that even in 24 hours, today in this room, each of you can walk away with a collaboration, with getting to know someone on a deeper level than you came in. I bet you that each and every one of you have not met every single person in this room. Has anyone introduced themselves to every person in the room? There is someone, hold on, was there one person? Oh, you don't count. Yes, Nancy and Renee, you better know all these people. If there's not, security, come in the house. But you have the potential to create momentum in your life now by literally going up to one person during lunch. And by the way, I challenge you to do this. Go up to someone that maybe you just said hi to, but there's a little something about them. Like, I really like their energy. I like their smile. I liked how they had that firm handshake when they said hello. I dare you to put them in a 15-minute block in your calendar and get to know more about their business and what they do. Create momentum by building deeper, more connected relationships. And of course, the best way to create momentum, the third thing, is to seek mentorship. So often we have probably very wonderful groups of friends, but we expect them to give us advice about a business that they know nothing about. When really, we should be looking to mentors who are years beyond us to help us get there quicker. Observation. Who do you look up to in your industry? Who are you observing? What are their habits? What are they doing to become even more successful than where they are? And most importantly, how are you observing yourself? There's this really cool thing I think you've heard of before. It's called self-awareness. And a lot of us feel like we have it until we realize that we've been stuck doing the same thing with the same habits, with our same morning routine for years. How are you observing yourself, the way in which you move in the world, to fill the gap of, okay, this is who I am now and today, but who do I want to be in 5 years? Even in 1 year. The Amber that I want to step into at the end of 2025 or September of 2025, she looks different. I could be doing great in my business, but I'll share something personal. I'm going through my own health journey right now. One of my big focuses is on that. You can have 100 problems that are keeping you up at night until your health is gone. Then you have one. How are you taking care of you? This year, let me tell you, I am filling my cup, and doing things like this is what fills my cup. I get to be in the room with you guys. I can't wait to meet each and every one of you. I'm interested. Yeah, round of applause. You guys are amazing. You know how to invest in yourself. You're spending your time here on a weekend to learn, to grow, to connect. That's amazing. Ooh, discovery. It's interesting to me how we can kind of lose track of discovering and becoming curious with our lives. You see, my dad, I love him. I'm so close to my parents. My mom's my best friend. Me and my dad are just hilarious together. And when I was growing up, he used to say, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Anyone ever heard that saying before?
Yeah.
I like to say, if it's not broke, how can we rethink it into being better? Because here's the thing about being good in life and our business. Sometimes we take for granted what good can feel like until something traumatic happens in our life. But then what happens in the moments where trauma's really not existing? Like things are going pretty well, like it kind of feels easy almost. So much of the time we get complacent. We feel like because nothing's broken, this system has worked for me for years, then I'm just gonna stay here because it's nice and comfortable. Little do you know, right up the block, right around the corner, is greatness. You could go from good to great, you could go from good to discovering your excellence. So think to yourself, whether it's the boring systems and processes, whether it's a skill that you used to work on that you know you really need to get back into working on more, discover what it is and become curious of how you can be better in that. So discovery, allow yourself to become curious. Now environment. This one's interesting to me because, as one of my mentors used to say, common knowledge isn't always common practice. And I feel like environment's the one where it's common knowledge, we ain't practicing it very much. The people that are in your life are integral. I will say, I'm not married yet, I've never been married, but when I do, let me tell you, I know it's one of the most important decisions I'll ever make in my life. The partnerships that you choose in business and in life will determine where you're headed, will determine if those goals and dreams come into fruition. Because little do you know, when you spend time, days with certain people, you pick up on their habits, you pick up on their mindset, most importantly. You guys are ahead of the game. You're in this room, in this amazing Rich Thinking Conference with Mitzi and Renee. And you're putting yourself in the room, but what happens when you go back home? How do you feel about your support system there? How would you rate it? Can some people shout out numbers? If you had a scale between 1 to 10, once you leave home at the end of the day today, how do you feel with your support system?
9.
A 9? I love it. Anyone else brave enough to share their number? 9s? This is all we get? Okay. Well, guys, I'm at a 10. No, I'm kidding. I would say I'm at a 9 as well. I have room for improvement. But it's integral that we take inventory of those that we're surrounding ourselves by. Again, common knowledge, not always common practice. And it's hard to. I'm not saying cut people out of your life that you feel, oh, you're negative energy. That's kind of wrong, right? What we want to do is make sure that we're in control of the things we say yes to and the things that we say no to. Where are you spending your time? How are you continuing to educate yourself? And who are you spending the most time with? Are you protecting your energy? Are you continuing to grow with people that motivate and inspire you? And most importantly, when we're talking environment, it's not just people. Decluttering your physical space, decluttering your mental space. I love how in this day and age, people are really open about therapy. They're open about the fact that we all know social media is the highlight reel of most people's lives, and that it's okay if you're going through something difficult right now. Because just like the future obstacles that will come, right? You have gone through hard things before, and you're going to get through them just like you have. Leverage. This is one of my favorite ones because I feel like people, first of all, think leveraging is kind of icky. Like, oh, you're gonna leverage your relationships, you're gonna leverage your friendships. Hopefully I can kind of reframe this for you. To leverage a business partnership, to leverage your friendships, is to create value. How are you creating value in someone else's life? How are you going to create value in this room? Maybe there's another speaker in the room. Maybe you're going to practice what Coach Burke talked about, which is really stepping into your boldness. Maybe you're going to go up to Mitzi and Renee and say, you know what? I started my speaker journey. I want to be on that stage next year. How are you leveraging those around you? And how are you giving without thinking about how you're taking? Who can you make an introduction to here in the room? You never know where that will lead. Actually, what's interesting, so I was on this really cool, I think they're pitching it to be a television show. So Grant Cardone has this really cool, soon-to-be television show probably called The Great American Speak-Off. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of The Great American Speak-Off. It's kind of low-key, a few people in the room. Of course you two have. I love it. Went through this really awesome journey, made it to top 30. It was awesome. I met so many people. There were hundreds of people auditioning for this thing in person. And I'm in the ladies' restroom. I'm just washing my hands, minding my own business. And I hear this woman say, she's in construction out of Los Angeles. It took 2 seconds. I went up to her, we're about to go out because we're going in 5 rooms to audition. And I just want to say hi. I don't meet a lot of women that are in construction, and it's just so nice to know someone that is. The conversation goes on. She's like, you know what, we should keep in touch. I'm really thinking of building this stage in Los Angeles, and I want to have events there, I want to have events in Vegas. Over a year later, this woman remembers me. I was barely speaking on, in high schools and really, small stages. She comes back around and she's like, I see your consistency, and I have a 2,500 person stage that I want to pay you 5 figures for. Would you want to come? Well, yes, I do, thank you. We met in the ladies' room, guys. There's no excuse to not make sure you make a connection in this room. To make sure that you proudly say who you are, what you do, and who you help. You can achieve the success that you desire. Now, I know that maybe you kind of know that, but I'm curious if you really do. Do you really deep down know that you're made for greatness? That you're here for reasons beyond yourself to impact this world, to impact other people in a certain way? How are you going to do that? Let me tell you, it's not going to be alone. Lean on the friendships that you're creating when you come to places like this. And most importantly, don't go back home and do nothing with this. Because really, the gold is in the follow-up. One thing I love to do is when I meet someone and I really feel like I have this connection with them, I literally take a selfie. I DM them right then and there. I'm an Instagram girl. Do whatever suits you best. If you're a LinkedIn professional, whatever works for you. And I will message them and say, hey, here's my calendar link. Please, before you leave this conference today, get my calendar. No sales, no pitching. I'm not trying to make you buy my program. I want you to I want to actually have a conversation with you. And those conversations turn into, like I said, collaborations. They turn into just really amazing friendships. Like Renee said, I wouldn't have met Mitzi if it wasn't for Renee, and I met you in a mastermind group. Just like Chris over here, we're going to be hearing his talk about paradigm shifts in a mastermind. And now we're doing business together. One step at a time. Continue to take action. I'd love to connect with you. If you guys want to connect with me, I'm on Instagram. It's at Amber Ybarra. I am happy to provide a more in-depth kind of journaling workbook for my Remodel You methodology. And I'm just so grateful to be here. If you guys, I'm going to be around all day. Again, I really genuinely would love to meet each and every one of you. So let's have a conversation. Thank you so much. Mitzi, Renee, I appreciate you.
I just really feed off of really powerful women. And I think that's why all of you women are here today, is to be inspired and really surround yourself with people who are wanting to be better, do better, grow, network, and be the best version of us that you could possibly be. So just a couple of housekeeping things before we continue. Everyone here, I know everyone's flashing up their QR codes, but this booklet right here has everyone's QR codes.
Yeah, and you should go in here and, oh, sorry. Make sure that you take a moment to follow everyone. If you are on Instagram, that's, I think, one of the primary places. Obviously, a lot of these people are also on LinkedIn. You'll be able to get all their info in here. So we did this for you so that you wouldn't have to scramble. You can get connected with everyone by doing this. But follow them, follow us, and you'll get the updates for everything we do in the future and all the speakers are doing as well.
Great job.
Thank you. Another thing is that Mitzi and I are initiating a mastermind. And just by being here, you are fully welcome into it. The details of it are to come, but we're thinking once a month, just a meeting more of the minds. And if you are here, you get the first 6 months for free. So please sign up if you would like to be a part of that. The logistics of it will come your way once we have your information. And it's also on our richthinking.org website. So if you want to hop on there and check it out. And one more thing is if you're loving it today and really are desiring to come back next year, we're offering a pre-sign up for next year. It's out there. I'm not going to explain it. There's a lot of perks to signing up early. You are automatically a VIP for next year, which we will plan beautifully, and hopefully we'll be in that big room over there. So please, if you're interested at all, just take a look at the paperwork out there. And again, we're so grateful you're here. Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yanni V. It's actually hard to notice, a long, very Greek last name. So it's my pleasure here to introduce my wife, Renee. Renee is the founder of the Mighty Minds Academy. She's a speech-language pathologist and a mindset and communication specialist, as well as an author, a speaker, and now a conference host. Renee specializes in building, maintaining, and protecting confidence in teams by implementing mindset strategies and nurturing advanced communication skills. So please, a round of applause for my beautiful wife, Renee.
Thank you. You better get used to doing that. I just want to take a moment to soak this all in because this is on my vision board. And those of you who do vision boards know that when you actually accomplish something on your vision board, it's a big deal because you've had it in your mind, you've imagined it, you've visualized this successful whatever it is, whether it be manifesting a new car, which is on my vision board for my husband, or manifesting meeting people like you. And it's just really special. Bless you, Kelly. Very special to have you all here today. Mitzi and I are so grateful, and we're going to keep saying it, so you might get annoyed with how many times I tell you this, but you being in this room is magical and a dream for us. So thank you for being here. So we're going to think and grow mighty today. Many of you may know this man. Many of you may recognize this man. Many of you may have heard of a little book he wrote. It's pretty famous. If you don't know who he is, his name is Napoleon Hill, and he is the author of Think and Grow Rich, one of the top personal development books written in history. Raise your hand if you know Napoleon. Okay. And the title of this book was really the inspiration of why we named our conference Rich Thinking. So what you may not know about Napoleon Hill is that he has a son named Blair who was born without any physical sign of ears. He couldn't speak, he couldn't hear. And all the doctors told Napoleon that chances were that his son Blair would never be able to speak or hear. So imagine going into the hospital, your child's born, and this is what you're told. Not only does he have a physical difference, but he also doesn't have one of his senses that allows him to speak. So thinking about it, Napoleon said, I'm going to find a way. There has to be a way for me to be able to help my child learn to speak and be able to hear. And he challenged the doctors, and he, in his own mind, said to himself, I'm going to infuse my desire for my son to hear and speak into him. Anyone know this story? Okay. So we hear a lot of stories about Napoleon Hill and his book, but this is one that when I read it, it hit me so hard. And I'll tell you why. Because I have been a speech language pathologist for over 23 years, working with students on their ability to articulate themselves, their language skills, their social skills. I've worked with stutterers, hearing impairments, voice disorders, you name it. And even though I'm very skilled and knowledgeable and I love what I do, I always felt that there was something missing in my therapeutic approach. Some students, I would apply the knowledge, would apply what we do to resolve whatever disability or challenge that they're having. And I would use all the things I learned in the books, right? I went to Penn State University full ride scholarship, learned there communication disorders, went on to NYU, moved to Manhattan. My parents thought I was nuts. I had a goal. My goal was to become a speech language pathologist, and I learned so much in those programs, and I was applying all the techniques. All the techniques. This is the disorder, this is how you treat it, right? But I was finding that some of my students were not making the progress that I thought they could make. They were hitting a plateau. And I always wondered, what is missing? Something is missing. I'm not sure why this is not working. So during the pandemic, I made a decision to pour into myself. I finally felt like I had the time. Did anyone else feel like that during the pandemic? The world slowed down, and I felt like I was getting off the hamster wheel of just being a mom, being a wife, running a household, having a full-time job, all the things, right? And I went into the pandemic thinking, I want to make myself better. This can't be it. Now that I have the time, I'm going to pour into myself. So I discovered Bob Proctor. Woo-hoo. And I would listen to Bob on YouTube. And what he was saying was so profound. These concepts and his teachings were so different than what I was used to. And I really was so excited and just, I felt awake. And that's when I started meeting my friends in masterminds and things like that, and a lot of you are here today, but one of the first things that Bob taught me was so simple, but extremely profound. He wrote 4 words on his whiteboard, and he connected all of them. So thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. So I really wanted to embody this, so I was trying to understand it, and when he spoke about it, it hit me. I was focusing on the students' actions to get the results. What I learned in school, right? What I was neglecting were the child's feelings and the thoughts that were causing those feelings, controlling those feelings. So, you may say, Renee, what in the world are you talking about? Let me tell you about my little friend, Ethan. Ethan was in 1st grade when he showed up at my speech room. The child was adorable, cute as pie, but when he opened his mouth, he could not get his words out. He had such a severe stutter. Oh, it like breaks my heart just thinking about it. So he had this spirit in him. But anytime he wanted to comment or ask a question, it was painful how long it took for him to get it out. And it just breaks your heart. But not only was he such a severe stutterer, he had all these secondary behaviors, which, if you don't know, are compensatory when you have a stutter. So you'll see people who stutter, kind of grimace their face or stomp their feet, or they have these arm movements that actually become a part of the stutter. It builds the behavior it embeds it, becomes a part of their stutter. So not only was he unable to get his words out, but he had all these funky moves he was doing. And that led to a very lonely first grade time for Ethan. He would be out on the playground by himself. And any attempt for him to communicate with his friends was really not fruitful, because by the time he got his words out, the kids were running that way. So I really took an interest in Ethan, and I wanted to know more about him. And it was funny because I learned that Ethan used to be a fluent speaker. His mom told me that Ethan spoke beautifully, but developed this severe stutter when his baby brother was born. Now, you wouldn't think of a baby being born as traumatic, but for Ethan it was. He was an only child for a very long time. He didn't understand what it was to be a brother. He felt like it was a lot of responsibility. And just the fact that he was so fluent and very acutely became very disfluent, I was very interested in why that was, what happened. So I got to know Ethan, and I started applying this. I did not start with fluency therapy techniques that I learned in school. I started with, Ethan, how are you feeling? Because once a child tells you how they're feeling, you can kind of reverse engineer and know what thoughts are going through their mind. So for Ethan, he said he felt nervous, he felt anxious, he felt like his mom didn't have time for him. She spent way too much time with this baby. He didn't understand that he was still an important part of the family. He didn't know his place. And this caused trauma for him, which then manifested in a severe stutter. So we worked together for a few weeks, and I didn't even apply any fluency techniques with him yet. It was a counseling session. How are you feeling? Why are you feeling this way? What are you thinking? Thoughts, right? The top of that chart is where we need to begin. I figured out what I was missing in my therapeutic process. So, fast forward, my little friend Ethan, not only did he reduce his stutter by 90%, but by the end of the school year, exited out of speech therapy. Of students of all ranges of abilities. I have never been able to remediate such a severe impairment so quickly. It's all in the power of your thoughts. It's all in the power of your thoughts. Your thoughts control your feelings, control your actions, and control your results. So when you really think about it, I was addressing the actions for the results, which is what a lot of us are doing. We're going through the motions. How are we feeling though? Right now you probably feel amazing because you're in a room with a bunch of people that are gonna light you up for the day. Your thoughts are there. Positive, wonderful thoughts. So funny enough, Napoleon Hill did the same thing with his son. So many of you probably know this quote. This is what I started instilling in my students. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Right? So once I started telling my students this, I was seeing improvements in them that were profound. And they were excited to come to Miss V's class because I was giving them the fuel they needed to be successful. So back to Napoleon Hill. What happened to his son? Well, in the chapter called Desire, Napoleon Hill made a decision that he was going to infuse thoughts of optimism, thoughts of excitement that you will be able to hear, you will be able to speak. And they bought a Victrola, which I had to look up. It's a record, kind of record player anyway. So once Napoleon noticed that his son was able to hear the music in one way, shape, or form and start requesting it, it gave him that door. His foot was in the door to help him understand that he has the power within him to hear and to speak. So Napoleon decided to constantly infuse his son with a desire. He never treated his son like a disabled child. He went through all the schooling, regular schools, went to college, all without being able to hear, unless his professors were right behind him yelling very loudly. So, his last week of college, Blair Hill, by the grace of God, was sent a hearing device. Now, he had tried other hearing devices, but his type of hearing loss is called bone conduction hearing loss. So that's your mastoid bone is behind here. He didn't have the equipment through an ear to hear. So he had tried hearing devices before, but none of them worked for him. So he got frustrated, clearly. This is what happens. But this one was different. He put that hearing aid on and he was instantly able to hear. He called his mom, he could hear her. For the first time in his whole entire life, he was able to hear. So his belief in himself, he did not use his disability as an excuse. He had infused from his father desire, the thoughts that he needed to understand that he would be able to hear and he would be able to speak. And Napoleon Hill instilled that in him from very young. The power of thoughts. The power of thoughts. So Blair Hill went on to work with the hearing device company. He did a lot of research, and he actually turned his disability into an asset and became well known in the hearing device industry, helping people with hard of hearing and deafness to be able to communicate. So the power of our thoughts, right? Our mind is a garden. Our thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers, or you can grow weeds. Today when you leave, what thoughts are you going to intentionally think and nurture? The flowers or the weeds? Thank you.
All right, guys, you get to stretch your legs now. Are you ready for that? I'm sure you are. We have some time for meet and greet. You can make those connections now, and they're setting up our lunch for us, so you'll get to eat a very delicious 5-star Philly-themed lunch. Yes. And so you can see our schedule here. Take the time you need, go stretch your legs, get some refreshments, and we will be gathering back here at about 12:55. If you are one of our lucky participants in the special lunch with Coach Burt, you can see us at the registration table. That'll be taking place around the corner in the Franklin room. So you can get your plate when the lunch is ready in a little bit, and head in there to have your special lunch session with Coach Burt. And for next year, those of you who are signing up for our next year event, these are the kinds of perks that you will get as a VIP. Enjoy.
All right, everyone talk to each other now.